Welcome to the video, everybody. Today we're diving into the biggest case of the military blue balls since the Cold War. I'm talking about the Caribbean and Venezuela. On December 13th through 14th, the U.S. Navy's FA-18E Super Hornets teamed up with EA-18G Growlers, and they were doing patrols near Aruba and Curaçao, just off of Venezuela's coast. There's posts on X that are screaming about radar interference actually happening in Caracas. Could that be tied to that Growler's electronic warfare gear? Well, I'm no genius, but the EA-18G is built for electronic warfare, so we'll get into what it was doing, what kind of effects it could have had, and what kind of information it was collecting as probably the biggest part. But this wasn't just a routine flyby, it's a power move in a tense geopolitical chess game that we've seen play out over the last few months. So stick around because we're going to break down the jets themselves, the EA-18Gs, the tech, Venezuela's defenses against them, and then we'll go with two hypothetical scenarios that could light this powder keg involving the EA-18G Growler. So let's start with the stars of the show, the FA-18E Super Hornet and the EA-18G Growler, and why they were teamed up together. The Super Hornet is a multi-role fighter built by Boeing, flying since 1995 with IOC, Initial Operational Capability, for all you acronym lovers out there. In 2001, it's a two-seat variant that has the ability to be two-seat, but the EA-18E is a single-seat air superiority. The FA-18F dual-seat, EA-18G dual-seat as well, for its electronic warfare mission. It's got a 44-foot wingspan, it's about 60 feet long, and it's powered by two General Electric F414GE turbofans. Each of those pump out 22,000 pounds of thrust with afterburner. Top speed, no big deal. Mach 1.8 or about 1,200 miles per hour at 40,000 feet, and its range is roughly 1,200 miles with external tanks as part of that configuration. It's got a quadruplex. If duplex wasn't enough, just go quadruplex, digital fly-by-wire system, meaning it can take a hit, potentially even on one of the wings, and then the other wing will work perfectly fine. So that is a huge redundancy when it comes to combat. That's very important. It's also got the AN/APG-79, which is an ASA, active electronically scanned array, acronym number 2, that can see targets at about 100 nautical miles away, whether they're on the air or in the ground, which is very important. The EA-18G Growler is the Super Hornet's electronic warfare cousin. If it wasn't cool enough being an air superiority fighter, we're going to go ahead and make you the biggest, baddest electronic warfare beast on the planet, basically, and that's what the EA-18G Growler is here for. It's swapped with the 20mm cannon for an AN/ALQ-218 receiver, so it doesn't have the cannon on it, unfortunately, the one downside. And it carries an AN/ALQ-99, or even a newer version of that, an AN/ALQ-249. That's a fancy way of just saying we're going to jam your face off, and by the end of this, you're going to melt into a puddle of goo because so much directed radar energy is going to be pumped into you. That's the technical term behind those jamming pods. Those pods let it detect and jam enemy radars across a very wide spectrum. It's got the same engine, same speed as the other Hornets, but it's built to blind defenses and collect very sensitive information, not necessarily dogfight, even though, it could if you had to. Both of those jets are operating from the USS Gerald R. Ford, which is in the Caribbean right now, so it makes sense that these were flying missions just yesterday, and these aren't just planes. They're the Swiss Army knife of fighter jets. The Super Hornet's also a weapons truck. It's got 11 hardpoints. It can carry AIM-9Xs, AIM-120 AMRAAMs, and also AGM-88 HARMs. Those are high-speed anti-radiation missiles that can kill radars, so interesting. So the EA-18G is out there sniffing and seeing what radars turn on, and each Hornet can also carry an AGM-88 HARM. No, it's just a coincidence. Yeah, that little HARM, don't worry about that little guy. They can also carry the JSOW, which is a joint standoff weapon. That's 3 delicious acronyms for you. Those are for ground strikes. So those can be launched from dozens of miles away, go out, tap the target, and it keeps the Hornet out of threat zones more than traditional like JDAMs would do. And then it can also feed that information to the joint helmet-mounted cueing system, and that is what's called a look and shoot capability, being able to look at something, designate it, lock onto it, and shoot, all from your hands on stick and throttle setup, and from seeing it all in your Jehemix helmet, and you tie it all into the Link 16, so all the Hornets are all talking to each other, and you've really got a formidable force to go out there and crush it. And with the USS Ford, it's only F-18s as far as its fighter force goes. It doesn't have the F-35s yet, might be updated eventually, but that is a large update. So they have the F-18E, F, and the G. So this system is really built to get the EA-18G into combat, and it looks like it's kind of leading the charge at this point. But let's talk a little bit more about those weapons, specifically the AGM-88 Harm. That is built to go out and strike enemy radars that are turning on, trying to light up the Hornets and shoot them out of the sky. So before any air operation goes down, you have to have that intel. You have to know what's going to turn on at what times and what jets they could actually target, because maybe some of those systems are built to target high value targets like a B-52, B-1, RC-135, and maybe some of them are built for fighters. So you have to know what is what and what you need to take out first. That's one of the biggest things when it comes to ISR, intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance of any war zone and any area that you're potentially planning strikes. And like we've heard before, land strikes are likely coming to Venezuela. We've heard that foot stomped a couple different times from the administration, so it's not surprising me that it's escalated to the point of needing the EA-18G Growler. But what would that EA-18G Growler be doing out there? Well, thanks to Russia, Venezuela's air defenses are no joke, especially around Caracas and key oil sites. They've got S-300V MSAMs. Those are surface-to-air missiles with a 120 nautical mile range, Buck M2E medium range systems, and Pantier S-1 for close-in protection. All that basically means they've got a layered defense that's built for long, medium, and short range. They've also got that Sukhoi Su-30 Mk2. If those can get airborne, they could be a formidable threat to the F-18 if their pilots actually have training with their R-77 missile. That could actually challenge U.S. jets as far as the range, comparable to the AMRAAM likely, but then all the ground radars in Venezuela tie everything together and create what's called an IADS, an Integrated Air Defense System. You know I got to keep these acronyms coming at you, but basically that means that all corners and all quadrants of an area that they're trying to protect is covered by something. So long range, medium range, short range, it's all integrated into an air defense system that all is supposed to talk to each other, in a perfect scenario if the system has been set up well. The quality of the IADS, we don't know, because Russia, we don't know how they integrated them. We know that they have the systems themselves, but if it's a one-off system that isn't talking to anything else, it's not going to have the capability of a system that's integrated like a big mesh missile network that can all talk to each other and then sling missiles coordinated, knowing which section should shoot the missiles, which section shouldn't, when that jet is going to come in from the outer to the middle to the inner layers. That's what the IADS does. That's a very complicated, complex thing to do, and it takes a lot of money. So whether Maduro, president of Venezuela, is actually doing that, I would be kind of shocked if a lot of that money was going in to create a very solid net, because if you look, their military basically uses Flight Radar 24. Yeah, that's not a joke. That's what their head of their military was using during a top-level meeting with the highest brass in Venezuela. They're sitting there just watching Flight Radar 24. I feel like it's a version of Take Your Kids to Work Day where that top general is like, hey kids, look at Flight Radar 24. And all the generals are like, no, 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 yes, we have intel. But the U.S. has been probing these defenses since September with B-52s, B-1s, RC-135s, and now these EA-18G Growlers coming in close. So if Caracas miscalculates, their IADS could crumble under a Growler-led strike. And again, if they haven't set up their IADS perfectly, this is going to be the wake-up call that nobody wants to answer, and Maduro is going to be the person on the end of that phone line. But let's do a few hypothetical situations with the Growler involved. So let's say the tensions just keep boiling and we just keep going. This situation gets hotter and hotter, as we've seen it happen over the last few months. But U.S. gets intel that Venezuela is loading a sanctioned oil tanker with drones for a narco terror group as kind of their big middle finger to the U.S. So then U.S. Southern Command would greenlight a strike. 2 FA-18Fs and 2 Growlers launched from the Gerald R. Ford 200 miles off the coast of Aruba. The Growler, call sign Grizzly 1, orbits at 30,000 feet, blasting their NGJ-MB jamming pod at Venezuelan radars near Maracaibo. The S-300s in that area go blind, their screens basically turn into snow, and the Super Hornets now roll in. Rhino 1-1 and 1-2, they roll into 15,000 feet and they each sling AGM-88 harms. They ripple them off and they scream toward a Buck M2 site, which is a radar that is trying to detect aircraft, and then they blow it up and turn it to scrap. They also take out the Flight Radar 22 receivers that are their highly secretive intelligence for the Venezuelan Air Force. The Hornets then release JSOWs, which smack into the tanker before it can even leave the dock. A pair of Su-30s scramble from Caracas, but the Growler spoofs their radar, painting fake targets 50 nautical miles away. The Su-30s are basically flying blind in the wrong direction, and then the EA-18Gs and the F-18Fs turn around and land on the forward, ready to enact that mission the next day if needed. For the next situation, let's say Venezuela has had enough. At this point, they just throw their arms up and say, we're done, and after another US flyby, they decide to flex a Pantsir S-1 battery near Curaçao, and it locks onto a patrolling Growler. Grizzly 2, flying 20 nautical miles off the coast. That's the name of the Growler. The Growler's AN/ALQ-218 picks up the radar spike and auto jams it, blanking the Pantsir's screen. Two Super Hornets, Rhino 1-3 and 1-4, are 50 nautical miles away. They're escorting an E-2 Hawkeye. That's that airborne early warning center for the Navy that can also blast off the carrier. Highly capable. The Hornets go weapons hot, each of them launching a harm missile at the Pantsir's radar signature 15 miles away. The missiles hit, they silence the entire battery, but Venezuelan Su-30s sneak through the jamming and they launch two R-77s at Rhino 1-3. The Hornets use countermeasures and evasive tactics to dodge the missiles, but it's not over yet. With that hostile act, now the Rhinos can actually take down the Su-30s. So as they're in close, the Rhinos unleash AIM-9Xs flying directly towards the Su-30s. The Su-30s don't even know what's coming, but they happen to get off a couple flares. But the AIM-9X, having flare rejection capability, just sees those things as spoofers and completely disregards the flares and smacks into the Su-30s, and those Su-30s fall into the ocean that are now fish food. The F-18s return to base and they're ready to do it again and again and again. That's likely how these two situations would go down. So there you go, guys. The FA-18E, the F, and the EA-18G Growler, they're not just flexing now near Aruba, especially with the EA-18G Growlers on scene. They're sending a direct message to Caracas that we are building a targeting package knowing exactly where all of your top tier assets are, and we can make them go away with the flick of a switch. This is top tier tech that's embedded in the EA-18G with that electronic warfare, and they're basically ready to kneecap Venezuela's Russian supplied defenses. These jets are game changers in the Caribbean, and now we see them actually using their number one talent to be very dialed in and tuned in to take out the IADs of Venezuela. So this is a level that the EA-18G Growler is made for. It's what they're built for, and they're doing it on the daily. So I'll keep you guys posted as this develops. What do you guys think about this developing situation, this massive case of military blue balls in the Caribbean? Would love to hear what you think. Go ahead and leave your comments below. Let me know what you think about the EA-18G Growler as well and how it might be used in this conflict. Would love to hear that. Follow me on X, follow me on Instagram. Just come on over, say hi over there. And then if you would, just watch this video right here. When you watch this video right here, it helps the channel grow exponentially, and I would greatly appreciate it. So I'll see you on this video right here. This is Ryan, also known as Max Afterburner, signing off.